as far as retirement is that you can just sort of crawl out of this business in many cases. You can take a senior type of contract. You can start producing less. If you're in a general agency, you can maybe sell the ownership and just come in a couple of days a week. So it's a wonderful opportunity. But in many cases, we have people who sell their business. They spend the first 6 months playing golf, doing a little bit of traveling. All of a sudden, it's not all that appealing anymore, right? You work 60, 70 hours a week, and then you work 0. So we talk about some of those things as well. And there are many, many opportunities for sales in there. So we evaluate the business. We want to make you aware of the best solutions. We're not interested in having a relationship with your client. That's not our place. Number one, I don't practice law outside of Nebraska, and so they throw me in jail out here. But number two, this is your relationship. I want you guys to manage it. We just want to help you with it. So we want to make you aware of the best options. We want to help you connect the owner with other professionals as necessary. We'll talk about that a little bit more. We need more than just CPAs and attorneys in many of these cases. So we'll talk about how to evaluate them. And most importantly, maybe to us, is we want to show you where the sales are. We want to give objective solutions. That's a very, very important thing. It's important to me that we're objective. And on the other hand, on the other side of this, we also have to find a way to make some money out of this, right? Because if you guys aren't making any money and we're not making any money, eventually we're going to have to quit doing it. And then people can go find their options in other places. So that's what we want to work: life insurance, annuities, long-term care. Long-term care is just, it's an amazing tool for exit planning because we know they need long-term care just like everybody else does, but they get the choice of pre-funding that. They could pay it up at 65 and get at least a partial deduction on the way. So why wouldn't we start talking about paying the long-term care premiums while we still have the business, right? So great opportunities. This is a no-cost recommendation for your small business owners. You don't have to pay us thousands of dollars to come up with these recommendations. And what I said before, I really, really mean it. We try to be objective here. We are not going to have the right product for you for every recommendation we make. So what happens is we either have the option of saying, hey, we're only going to make the recommendations that work well with our products, or we're going to make all the recommendations and hope that some of it comes back to us. But if you wanted to do a defined benefit plan and you wanted to use life insurance in it, that's not us. That's not us, and that's okay. I think that's a very valid way of planning. So we will put that in there. We'll say use a defined benefit plan, knowing it's not going to come back, and that's okay. We think it's going to give you the opportunity to strengthen relationships with your clients. If you can go back out and provide a great value add, the more times you get in that door, the more times, the harder it is for them to move somewhere else. P&C agents, they get that better than anybody. You know, as each product you put in the house or in the business, they are less and less likely to move away from you someday. So it's a great opportunity to strengthen those and to increase your revenue relatively painlessly. These are some of the tools that we've created, and we'll go through those. So the question then becomes, where do you guys start? Because that's the difficult part, isn't it? It really is hard to say, all right, this is all, it sounds very interesting, I think it would be a good opportunity, but I really have no idea what to do when I leave here today. So, number one, what I would say is, what I said at the beginning still applies. If you can think of 5 clients to call today, then absolutely. Pick up the phone right when you get back and take a fact finder out. There's nobody better than your current book. But in order to get started, you need to know who else to target. Who else to target, and that is this targeting the right prospects piece. And that tells you that we want to, that you should target businesses with revenues between 2 and 50 million. Does that mean that we never want to work with businesses smaller or larger than that? No. But we think that's in the sweet spot. If you get over 50 million, they're probably thinking about investment banking type of options. If you're smaller than 2 million, then we may not have that bottom bullet point there. The key here, if you ever want to sell your business, is do you have a sustainable and transferable cash flow? Why do I say that? You guys, people do business with you. Why? Because of you, right? Your clients are coming to you because of the very specific service that you bring to them. And while that's great while you're working, what does that do when you want to sell your business? It hurts you, doesn't it? Because if you try and say one day, if my clients are coming to me for 20, 30, 40 years, and I one day say, you know what, I'm retiring, please go see Mark. Most of them are going to say, you know, some of them will just go to him only, not because of anything bad about Mark.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, well, sorry about that. Some of them will go just because the file is there for sure. But some of them are thinking, I don't know Mark. Why should I go see Mark? So the only way to make this a sustainable and transferable cash flow is for me to really introduce Mark to all those clients, right? So maybe 3 years before we form a partnership. Maybe I'm handing in my C clients. Maybe the year after that, he gets my B clients. Maybe the year after that, he's showing up at the client appreciation events. Whatever, however we work that timeline, that's the idea, is we make this in such a way that if I want to sell him the business will continue on after I leave. Because when you buy a small business, you aren't buying shares of stock. You're not looking for equity appreciation. You're buying a stream of income, right? And if that stream of income goes, then the business is not valuable to Mark. If it's not valuable to Mark, it's not going to be valuable to me. So that's a tremendous lesson, for you guys on how important it is to mentor and to bring people in.
Hey, Ron, you want to
yes.
get on that 2 to 10 year mark too for you?
Oh, absolutely. 2 to 10 years. Most people who aren't planning on leaving the business in more than 10 years don't want to talk about exit planning. So that's the easy side of it. But we say 2 years because we need some planning time. That's so important. You will run across plenty of people who, if you call them up and you say, do you want to exit your business someday? They'll say, yes, I do. And you'll say, when? And they'll say, next week. And you have nothing to do for those folks, right? Unless you know the phone number of a good business broker, there really isn't anything we can do. Yes?
A question for you. How often, in your opinion, should a buy-sell agreement be reviewed? So somebody says, I got a buy-sell agreement that I did 12 years ago. You know, what is your recommendations or suggestions on that?
Well, what I would say, and this is the advice that always falls on deaf ears. It's like review your will. Yeah. You'd love to see people look at their buy-sell every 5 years, or when you bring in a new partner, or if you have substantial growth in the business. You know, you'd love to see that. But you know, and I know, that you can talk to your blue in the face, and people will say, I know I drafted that buy-sell back in 1979, and they have a stated value of like $50,000 in there, you know, and the business is Microsoft or whatever. So, yeah, I think 5 years is good, but people won't do it, so maybe you say 5 to 10 is a better rule. So,
I think you set them up though. You know, if you're working on it from the get-go, you say, let's just take a look at this every year, just make sure not any changes. And give you a good reason to call them.
That's actually, that's a great idea, because a lot of times, especially if you state your value, you say this business is worth $100,000 and we're going to get together every year to put the new value down. Nobody ever does that. So if you say, I'm going to call you in 12 months so we can talk about the value, one, or number two, we're going to talk about, oh, sorry about that, I'm hiding from you now. Number two, at least we're going to make sure that your insurance is keeping up with your obligations under the buy-sell. It's a great opportunity just to go and touch bases with them. So, yeah.
The challenge has always started to be in the difference between the way attorneys get paid